Okay, I'm sitting here in the back of my 2016 Yukon XL, and we're going to show you how to replace the cable that breaks on these entertainment screens. Both of our screens broke in this Yukon in the past year. The one in the very back went out first, and then recently the one in the middle. So I looked in to see if there's a way to fix this and found a couple of postings online. Turns out it's really easy. I replaced the middle one last week, and I'll show you how to do it on the back one today. First thing you have to do is remove the screen, which is fairly simple. There's two covers here and here that you pop off, and then there's 4 screws. All right, now with these covers popped off, there's the 4 screws here. 3 of them, I just looked, are apparently 9/32 sockets. Surprisingly, there's one that's just a normal Phillips screw. So I'll take those off. And once I take those off, this whole unit will come out. All right, with the 4 screws out, you'll see it just falls down, and it's being held up by these 2 cables. One is a old-fashioned USB connector, and then this connector right here. Once I pull those out, I can take it inside and take the rest apart. Okay, so I have the unit out. There it is. Cables are disconnected here. Now what I need to do is replace this cable that's down in here. It connects from this board to the screen under here. First thing I have to do is take this plate off, and there's a bunch of screws. Here, 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 and then the same on the other side. Once I take those off, this will come up. There's a few connections for this light strip, but they just pop out as well. All right, I took out 10 screws, and this will now lift up, and you'll see how there's these 2 cables that the lights get their power from right here. And you can just pull those out. And that detaches the whole unit except for the cable that's the problem. So I'm just going to set that here. And you can't see it yet, but where it breaks is right in here. At least on the other one, that's how it was. It just split in half, so there's no longer a connection. I'm going to go ahead and pop this cable off right here by pulling this tab back, and then the cable's free. And now the next step is to remove the screen itself from the housing. And to do that, there's a number of screws right here. I believe we need to take out the 3 here, the 1 here, and then the 3 here. I took out the 7 screws here. There's 3 that are a little bit longer. Actually, I think one of them's longer than the other 2 that hold the housing together. And then there's the 4 that actually mount to this metal piece right here that pivots. And I didn't mention previously, the 10 that came out from the plate are all the same. So now we can lift this off, and it exposes almost this cable. But you can see now where it goes in. And so the next step is we've got to separate these 2 pieces so that we can get at the connection in here. To do that, take my flathead screwdriver, and I was able to do this on the previous one without causing too much damage, and it went back together all right. All right, I was able to pry off this cover, and you'll notice some of these break. You want to be careful to keep as many of those intact as possible so that you can reattach this and have it held together tightly. So that's off. We're not quite there. You can see where it connects, but to do this, we're going to have to take off this plate. And it looks like there are 8 screws to do that. those 8 screws are now out, and I can lift this assembly off. And now we've got this, which I'll disconnect by just flipping up this tab. The tab will break off if you're not careful. So maybe even use a little screwdriver just to nudge it up. All right, there's the cable, and let's see if we can find the damage on there. The other one was completely ripped through, but I think if we took that tape off right there, it's probably separated, and that's why it's not working. So all we have to do is replace that. I was able to find a 20 pack of these on Amazon for about $7. They're just standard cables. I think they're 40 pin. Put the new one on, put this back together, and it should work. This is what I ordered from Amazon. They are 40 pin connectors. There are 20 of them, $7. You can do it many times if they happen to break again. The pins go down, blue side up on these, and just slide them right back in. They'll go just under the little tab that flips down. It's a little tricky to do it with this cover in place. And then you flip the tab down, and you get a little tug to make sure it's secure, and that should be it. So the next step would be to reattach all these screws. We'll do that now. Reattach this plate with the 8 screws. I'm now ready to snap this back on over top. Hopefully it will go back together. It's not perfect, but good enough. Now we just need to reassemble everything. This plate goes underneath, and this goes back on top. And the key is just making sure that you get these metal pieces here, back into the slots, so that you can screw them down tight, because the screen does only turn on when it's open. If you don't have those in right, it won't work. So I'm going to start with the 4 screws that hold that piece together, which were the smaller screws that I took out, and then the other 3 will hold on this little plate. So I've reattached the screen to this piece here. And it's important that you thread this through this opening right here before you put this plate on. So I have not yet attached that plate, which I'll do now with the remaining 3 screws. All right, this part is all reattached. Now I've got this, and I'm ready to insert it back into this connector here. And so I push that tab up, place the end of it underneath, and push it down. Now that's secure. The next step is just to reattach the plate. You'll see that those are a little too long. Make sure I get it down without pinching it. And before I tighten this up, I will reattach these lights just by pushing those cables back in. Now it's just the 10 screws that we reattach. We're back in the car. You can see the 2 cables. That's the old school USB. It will focus for me. And then whatever kind of connector that is. We just need to plug those back in. Hold that for me. And then we'll test this out. Hopefully it works. Okay, I'm gonna go push the button and turn the screen on, system on. So before I reattach this, we'll make sure it works. Just push the, not that one, the entertainment power. Yep. Did it turn on? All right. You got to start the movie though. All right.
It works.
And there we go. For $7, you're able to fix this screen. Reading online, it apparently costs $700 if you take this into the dealership. Many people said they didn't bother attempting to fix just the cable, but they replaced the entire unit, which may not be a bad idea because this cable may not last all that long. As you saw, it was not the best design. But for $7, and I have 18 more I can work with, I think it's worth it.